What's going on, YouTube modeling community? Pappy here, West Georgia Rods and Customs. Welcome back to part two. This is the restoration that I'm doing of the '69 Dodge Charger Daytona. It's a two-in-one kit. This is actually a buyout that I did from a YouTube modeler back last year. He was getting out of the hobby, and I was more than welcome. I was more than glad to welcome all his kits and some of his old builds into my collection. And this is the Pro Modeler by Revell that he had. He had already finished it, and when he started boxing it up and everything, some of the pieces fell off, broke. He put it back in the box, and I'm just right now I'm showing everybody how if you buy a stash out or some old model kits from anybody, you can turn them around, turn them back around, and fix them. Well, one of the things as I got back started working on this one, many of you I mean, what I do when I build, or a lot of people that when you build, they go, man, we can't see the seam, or can't see a glue line or anything like that, or glue squeeze outs. That's one of the things about building. When you're building a model, using just enough glue to hold the piece on is really key to the success of a build. That way, you don't see a lot of glue squeeze out or anything like that. So, but in the long run, as the model gets older, it tends to get very brittle, and that's what's happened right here with this one. This kit, this build was probably built, maybe 10 years ago. The glue has really become brittle, and everything is starting to fall apart on it. So, with that being said, what I was doing a while ago, I was actually trying to put the front tires back on. That's why the front tires and wheels are setting off of this thing, along with the rear shocks and everything else that's kind of fell off this build. So I went ahead and I disassembled I took the front end, as far as the K member, off of the front end. That way, it's a little bit easier for me to get everything back glued to the front. While I was actually prepping up the area back here where the exhaust ports back out of it. I was going to get that kind of shaped up where I could use some aluminum tubing as the tips. Well, what happened there? As I was touching it, it broke loose. See how loose everything is? It broke loose from all the way up through here. So I was like, you know what? Let's just fix this, get all this taken care of, and we'll start moving on forward with the build. So, with that being said, one thing I'm going to do also, I may not get into the front end of this thing in part two. What I wanted to do was I wanted to go ahead and get the rear valance panel glued back on. So everything like it, just like I say, he had a few contact points where it was glued in. We're going to put that back in there. So what I did some sanding and things before off camera, and was able to establish a good contact point of where the glue needs to stick to. Folks, listen, I still use red glue. I just don't, I do it very liberally. And here's how I do it. I'm about to use this particular one out. I squirt this in an old top. Actually, it's an old beer top. I don't, I don't drink anymore, but this is just some old beer tops off of beer bottles. As you can see, it's an old Miller Lite bottle. Uh, and I just squirt them out. And here, I'll just take a toothpick, and I kind of figure out, I already know offhand where my contact points are at. And I'll take a toothpick. Yeah, it's old stringy glue, but you know what? It's brings back a lot of fun memories for me. Uh, and I'm gonna just kind of liberally. I'm not gonna put a whole lot. We're just gonna find. I know where the contact point's at on this car, or on this piece right here, and we're just gonna kind of apply glue up through there where needed. Let me flip this around where I can get glue up that side, up that back rib. Kind of fighting this stuff right now. Okay, and then back. Tell you what, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, let's go back down through here. Which I'm just going to put a thin little ribbon. As you can see, we're just going to put a thin little ribbon of glue down that back side of this valance here. All the way back up this front, down through there. And we'll just slide that off to the side, get a few of these little strings that have accumulated. Let's flip this around, and I've already pre-fit this, so I know about where it needs to be. We're going to slide this back in, get this pushed in there. Now, what I'm going to do to make sure that that's good and secured in, which I can see that right there's kind of there's one of the contact points. Here's what I'm going to do. Earlier we talked about taking the Tamiya tape. I use Tamiya tape as a clamp. I mean, it's just a good way of being able to clamp a piece, and that's about all I got to do right there. Just tape that part down. Get another piece, and I'm just using about that much right there. And then we'll tape the, hit that right across the bumper. And we're going to bring that, just apply a little pressure, and we're going to put it just like that. We'll come back later and we'll take that off once the glue's had plenty of time to dry. Now, with that being said, what I'm going to do here is I'll take some of this Tamiya Extra Thin, and while the car is upside down, I mean, you're not going to see, a lot of times you're not even going to see this. I'm just going to put this Tamiya glue, it's got like a capillary action. So as soon as you touch it, it'll wick its way down through the seam. And that's the reason I'm doing this upside down. Nobody sees this. Okay, got enough down through there, down that seam, down through there. And if I want to, I can do this also. I'm going to apply just a little bit down in that joint right there. And hopefully that will push that, make sure we got a good little squeeze in that. We're going to set it down. All right, we said earlier, we were talking earlier about the, old kits or old builds, everything kind of falls apart on them. So you create more work for yourself, when you're handling it and things like that. So let's get this, hope my head's not in the way, which it's not. And let's get some of this let's get some of these other places where we was having some problems. Let's get them glued back in. Which, with that being said, I'm going to set this exhaust kind of back a little bit. I want to give a good amount, a fair liberal amount of glue to the to this area right in here. And yes, I do hit, and here's what I'll do. I just kind of put a little bit, just a dab will do you, as my dad used to say. Take a toothpick, take any strings that may have accumulated down through there. And then here's what we'll do here. We'll take that, push that, kind of push it together, let it get a good bind to it. I like to take the Tamiya. This, I don't know if this is true or not, but this somehow, I've tried this in a couple of different other builds. If you put just the regular red glue down as a base, and you put the Tamiya over the top of that, to me it seems like it kind of it's like it makes it dry quicker. And look at that. That stuff is it's stuck there. So works good. It's just a little tip. I wouldn't say, you can try it if it works for you. If it does, if it don't, say, hey, Pappy, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, there we go. We got that, and I'm gonna hit. I'll probably hit that with some of the Tamiya tape right here. Probably about a good 2 inches of it, and what we'll do is we'll just lay that right across there, put that across the K member, or not the K member, but to the, put it back to that, to the frame right here. And just, that way it just holds it right in place. Nobody even knows it. Okay. We got that in place. We're gonna let that dry. And then once that gets good and dry, we'll come back and then we'll tackle these areas where the contact points for the K member goes. And also, what I may do is go ahead and get we'll get the wheels in place on top of these, top of the K member, and then we'll glue them in on the next episode. So, like we were talking about earlier, these models are, they get brittle over the age. Red glue especially. This old red glue gets dry, and it'll start. I mean, you can touch it, and it'll just, if it's. I've had them, maybe a year old, and just be pulling them down, cleaning them up a little bit, and they'll just instantly break, which is really it's a pain in the butt. It really is. But it's part of. I mean, if you're going to be in the hobby for a long time, be prepared. I mean, some of the thing, you spend months working on a build, and you don't want it tearing up. It's gonna tear up whether if you handle it a lot in your shop, or if you go to shows, things like that. You got to be prepared for it. So put a little bit more of the extra heavy Tamiya on there. I can always go back with some paint. We'll paint that up a little bit, get it. But I want that joint right there to where that header and the exhaust pipe collect. I want that to be good and dry. All right, well, that's where we're at. We'll pick back up on part 3 of this here just in a little while, and we'll start getting a little bit more of into the other details of the repair of this kit, and hopefully we'll have a finished product here in not too long. Anyhow, catch y'all on part 3. Thanks for joining in. Give me a thumbs up if you like this content, and leave me a comment. If you got any questions, drop it down, down below in the comments. Be glad to answer them for you. Anyhow, we'll see you on part 3 here just in a little bit. Thank you much.